are you guys talking about?
Levi, he
Have you
said
ever
the thing.
been to a land down under?
What did
Whoa!
he said something about being harnessed? I don't fucking know.
Oh,
What'd you say?
you're
Yeah,
talking about
so
your planet harness so you don't fall
no,
off.
no, yeah, no, your ground harness. So in Australia, it's the land down under. So they always run the risk of falling off the planet, right? So they have to attach themselves to the ground. And one form of warfare there is you take the boomerang and you throw it at their ground harness, and they'll fall off the planet and die. It's dangerous there, man.
Remember, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us a positive rating on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. Also, make sure to check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatoneandrew, where full recordings of this podcast are posted along with a plethora of other videos. We now also have a Patreon where you can support us. Head over to patreon.com/thatoneandrew. Check it out today, and thank you for listening. Now, on to the show. Greetings, all. Welcome back to Doomed to Repeat, a history podcast, the show where three friends come together each week and talk about interesting moments throughout the history. I'm your host, Andrew Arana, and joined with me today are the illustrious scholar ballers, Matthew and Levi. On this episode, we'll be talking about the origins of Australia, but before that, I would like to ask everyone, how are they doing?
I'm good. What about you guys?
Uh, you know, I'm surviving.
Mm.
Doing good. I'm doing good. Matthew, big news. You have a new like four-wheeler, big wheel. You have a new big wheel cart.
I have a new car, dipshit.
Oh, he's got a new car. Tell the audience about your car. What'd you get?
So, I bought a 2019 black Hyundai Elantra with all the works in it. It's got the push to start. It's got the heated seats. It's got the sunroof. It's
Cup
got
holders.
it's got cup holders. The best thing, I was so excited when I got in the car and I saw it had two cup holders. Almost cried. I was like, "This is what I've been looking for $17,000." Those cup holders. That was the deal breaker. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's go."
You know, I got my new car about a year and a half ago now.
It's not new anymore.
Yeah, it's not new anymore.
It's called
But I
depreciated
got that,
value.
and mine is a 2011, so it's still, it's 10 years old now, which is fine with me. My other car was a 1998 car, so you know, improvements. But I got my car, and I was like, oh, this is a nice car. It's got a sunroof. Um, that's about it, but it's a nice car. And then our mother gets a car, and it's got like the auto drive and the push to start. And then you get a car that has like the push to drive and the auto start and all the, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it does
and
have
then
that like lane detection to where like if somebody tries
uh-huh,
to merge into
uh-huh.
my lane, it blinks and then like it helps keep me in my lane. I forgot about all that stuff, but yeah,
And
it's
then
fucking awesome.
Susan got a new car. She got a 2019 Toyota Camry that has all that stuff. The lane detection, basically auto drive. And then I'm over here like, yeah, mine doesn't have Bluetooth. So I'm feeling like I hopped onto the new car boat just a tiny bit too early. And now I have to wait 5 years before I can actually get a modern car.
Damn.
Levi, what are you driving around these days?
I'm driving an '02 Ram 15 Ram 1500.
He still
All right.
has it. He still has it.
I don't
Long
feel
dead Bessie.
I don't feel that bad anymore.
Hey man, cutter gets around.
Exactly, right? As long as they get me from point A to point B.
No, 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 no. What's our hypothetical?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what I was about to move
My bad,
into.
my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad.
Where is it? Oh, it's right there. It's right there. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear everyone's doing good, but I'm going to go ahead and move to the hypothetical of the week. And the hypothetical is slowly turning into a would you rather of the week. Now we're talking about Australia today, gentlemen.
Hmm.
Um, so I made an Australia themed question. Would you rather be in Kangaroo Jack or be in Tomorrow When the War Began?
What is tomorrow when the war began?
Yeah, you're gonna have to elaborate on that, home dog.
Tomorrow, do you guys not remember that movie from 2010? It's like these Australian kids, and I'm pretty sure it takes place in Australia, and like they're getting invaded and stuff, and like they're like have to band together.
I don't know. What do you? Andrew, I'm confused. Why didn't you just do like? I know that there's a movie about like Gallipoli and like a father going to search for his dead sons in Gallipoli. I'd be that. I'd do that. I'd go to
Okay,
Gallipoli. I don't know. I'd go to Gallipoli. Maybe. I guess I'd go to Gallipoli.
yeah, here's the synopsis for Tomorrow When the War Began. Because I remember watching this movie. When their country is invaded and their families are taken, eight unlikely teenagers band together to fight. That's it.
All right. Like, we're going to have to do a bit of a sidebar on this because I'm going to absolutely search what the fuck this movie actually is and what's going on because that was about as vague as, like, that could describe so many movies. That could be like Red Dawn.
It kind of
Literally,
is.
that could be
Well,
Red Dawn. Is this
well, there you go.
Australian Red Dawn?
It basically is, yeah. So would you rather be an Australian Red Dawn,
Dong.
Australian Red Dong, or Kangaroo Jack?
I
Kangaroo
fucking
Jack.
hate that talking kangaroo.
I'd be Kangaroo Jack, dude.
I fucking hate that talking
I
kangaroo.
would
Are you sure you'd be in Kangaroo Jack? Because some
Bro,
wild shit happened in that movie.
me and Jack would vibe. What are you talking about?
I don't
Boy.
know, man.
I'd go
Kangaroo
to,
Jack is kind of scary.
think about how cool it'd be to talk to a kangaroo that doesn't want to kill you, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? Most of them are out for blood.
Dude, there's so many cool people in Kangaroo Jack. Like, there's Christopher Walken, Anthony Anderson.
Now, question: when you get teleported to said movie, so like say you're Kangaroo Jack, are you replacing a character in the movie? Are you just in with the cast? Are you the kangaroo? Like, what's going on here?
No, but no, I'm in like their world. I would say I'm in I'm in the world of Kangaroo Jack.
Okay.
I don't want to be in reality. That movie got like an 8% Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. Okay. So you're like, so
I
you're in this
don't, I
world.
I don't want to be an actor that was known being in the 2003 box office um
Critical hit, I would say.
Oh
yeah,
my god.
definitely yeah, it was critical hit at something. Box office bomb Kangaroo Jack.
Hey, it got a 4.4 on IMDb.
Okay, yeah.
Oh man, its budget was 60 million and it only grossed 66.9. Ouch.
They kind of made their money back.
I am.
Oh.
I remember the commercials for Kangaroo Jack, and it always just scared me. I was not having a good time watching them.
So I mean, I couldn't speak of um, Australian Red Dawn because I just have not seen it.
Gotcha, Matthew. Which would you rather be in?
I honestly don't like either of the choices. What was the name of that other movie again? Let me just check it.
Got Kangaroo Jack.
No, not Kangaroo Jack. God damn it.
Oh fuck!
Oh man.
Okay, let me
Well,
let
for the
me
audience, while he looks this up, I would rather be in Tomorrow When the War Began because I feel like Red Dawn situation with a bunch of teenagers oddly sounds less hellish than Kangaroo Jack.
that's kind of true. That's a
So
solid fact. Can I just
it's
do an audible? I'd rather. Can I please just go to Gallipoli? I don't want to deal with either of these. One of
Why
these
would
is
you
like
want
an
to
angsty
go? Why would
teen
I just
drama movie, and the other one is like god awful CGI kangaroo with bling.
yo, I love Kangaroo Jack though. Doesn't he rap? I'm pretty sure he raps.
Yeah,
yeah,
they make
yeah,
him
yeah, this is in the movie where he raps.
they make him basically a kangaroo from the Bronx. That's
I
all I'm
fucking
going to say
love
with
it.
that.
I love it. I love it.
Like
All right.
I
Well,
I guess I'll
would
choose the tomorrow when the war begins because I'm not dealing with that fucking stupid ass kangaroo.
All right, well there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't he
We have
talking too?
Who,
Isn't he a
Kangaroo
talking
Jack?
kangaroo?
Yeah, he's
yeah,
a dog kangaroo.
yeah. That's the whole thing about him.
That's
That's
the
he
whole,
raps.
that's
Yeah.
the whole thing about Kangaroo Jack, dude.
I would fucking hit that motherfucker with a boomerang. Fucking take him down. Fuck that
All
stupid
right.
fucking kangaroo.
Well, there you go, audience. You can let us know your answer in the comments below. Which would you rather be in? Um, it's a tough one. Now, before we get into our main topic of the show, there's one more new thing that I wanted to do for this new year. Uh, 2021, kind of want to refresh, leave 2020 behind. And with that, um, I have a new segment called This Day in History. And it's simple. Whatever day we're recording on, so like today is January 19th, 2021, I will go back and find a thing that happened in history on this day. So, boys, on January 19th, 1809, poet, author, and literary critic Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
Uh,
So there you go. Fun fact, though, um, I think we were only 8 days early, if I recall. Australia
Australia
Day or
Day is on
something.
January 6th.
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
So we just missed it. Um, but there's that. So yeah, but this day in history, the Edgar Allan Poe was born. And for some reason I never knew he was born in Massachusetts. I always thought he was born I thought he was always in like England or Europe or something. I don't know why. But
No. Are you getting him confused with like Shakespeare?
no, 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 no. Mm-mm. This is the one that was like my chamber door, right? That's Edgar Allan Poe, right?
Mm-hmm. And the
Yeah.
Raven?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just always thought he was in like London or something.
No, the Northeast is like just as depressing or more depressing than England. That's why it's
Well,
called New England.
Boston is pretty shit, so anyways, yeah.
On God, that's why they call it New England. It's like England,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
new. And
Yeah.
it's like Depression 2.0.
Just ask anyone from there. They'll tell you. All right, well, now we're going to move on to our main topic of the show. And that is on the origins of Australia. This is the first time in 2 months that we're not talking about Napoleon Bonaparte, and boy, does it feel good.
yeah, it sure does.
um, a little heads up for everyone. So, the origins of Australia, we're not going to be talking about prehistoric Australia. We're
Fuck.
going to talk about European arrival. Unless one
What?
of you have like
What? Yeah, no, I was talking about like how Australia came to be.
I'm a
What?
geology major. I can tell you why Australia is also one of the most fucked up like continents ever because we just don't understand how it fucking exists.
I okay. I guess we will talk about whatever you guys have. I thought we were going to do I told you guys last
I mean, I thought
podcast
we were
that
going to like go gloss over that part like briefly, then talk
Yeah.
about how
we
humans
can. Yeah,
like,
sure.
managed to get on the continent.
I mean,
Right.
we might as well because we're not going to do an episode over prehistoric Australia. There's not enough. So yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Levi, what are you going to talk about with it?
So
Because I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to talk
talk
about
about.
how humans got there.
All right. Oh wait, here I'll go. Then my things before that. So
Uh,
it's just about the like actual land of Australia and how it has literally the oldest rocks that we can find on the fucking earth, and they're just exposed in the middle of like the desert, and it's like how the fuck are these still here? The geography of Australia is like flat with more flat, but it's the only like tectonic plate that isn't rising or falling or subducting. It's just kind of existing. And it's been existing like that for like a billion fucking years. It is the most stable area in the world, basically. Like nothing happens there. So Australia was underwater, like I think back during the dinosaurs. And then now, I think it was up to like 60,000 years ago, the water level the water level over time, of course, over millions of years, changed, and it is the only spot on Earth that we think a lot of the animals weren't actually harmed by what is it? Which extinction is the KT extinction? The extinction of the dinosaurs when the asteroid or meteor hit over there in North America, well, Central North America. It actually wasn't affected. It was like just fucking left alone. Like everything on there just basically kept living and was fine. It was like, oh, some shit happened over there on the other side of the planet. We're fine. We're good.
Bro, that's like that's crazy.
Like on God, when I learned that, I'm like, yo, what?
Because from what I understood, when the extinction of dinosaurs came, and if it was like, I definitely believe it was an asteroid or meteorite that did it. Um, but I could also understand if a lot of volcanoes went off when it did hit as well. That
Well,
the Earth was just real quick. That the Earth was basically just like submerged in like this nuclear winter of just ash and just
well, when we
hell.
look at it now, it wasn't so much the volcanoes that like killed everything.
That was a previous extinction, I believe.
Yeah, no, actually, it's correct. Like, that's when the volcanoes happened.
This
But the reason the KT extinction was, like, so severe is because it hit the meteor, comet, asteroid, unidentified object that whatever the fuck crashed into Earth, hit into a shallow sea.
Alien spaceship.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe they were like, gotta get these fucking lizards out of here so we can have Ape Man take over. But when it hit the shallow sea, there was all this limestone and coral, which is all sulfates and sulfur bases, and it just vaporized all of it and sent it into the air and made and it kept in. It's basically like greenhouse gases on steroids on God mode, to where it just kept in all the heat and it made everything just like get even hotter into where the sea temperature rise and everything was just dying like crazy. And it's like, oh, let's go. Let's fucking. But anyways, that's beside the point. Australia has rocks that you can go to, and they're just exposed. I can't remember what they're called. They're not sarsen stones. That's fucking England with some shit. They're I can't remember the name of it, but they're the oldest rocks, and they are like 2.5 billion years old. So it was like some of the first shit to cool down after
Now,
Earth was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop being a molten hellscape.
question.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't know this answer. No one does. But do you think it's possible that when that, let's just say, giant meteor smashed down to the shallow water and blew everything up, do you think it's possible that some rocks did just fly up in the air and land in Australia?
No.
Now, why do you say no so quickly, and why do you laugh, Levi?
That'd be funny
Because
if it was true.
I
I
feel like
mean,
that's kind of possible, right? That something
not
hits so hard it flies up, and
okay.
Well,
We're just
hey,
gonna do a quick geography thing, Andrew. That's it. That's all we're doing here. The thing with this is like, yes, the Earth was different. Yes, the land masses were in different. They were closer to each other, but they weren't that close. You're never gonna have something hit so hard unless it destroys the fucking Earth. That's gonna send something from fucking
I
Mexico
mean,
to Australia.
it kind of did destroy the Earth, though. Like, I know we talk about things in like millions of years
Hey,
span, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but
hey,
there was a great extinction. Like,
only 75% of life, and it didn't happen instantaneously. It
well,
was
of
over a
course
couple
not.
thousand years.
But like, and that's what we think. But like, even then, for something that big to happen, it's got to be a pretty fucking big rock hitting pretty fucking hard. So
Its actual size is only 20 kilometers.
it's pretty big.
I mean, in the size of like things hitting the fucking planet or like things coming at you at the speed of fucking sound, yeah, that's pretty big. I wouldn't want to get hit with something 20 kilometers
Know what
big.
I know what my
Nothing I
mind
could do
actually
about it if it were to happen, though. It's a fucking 20-kilometer object.
know what my mind actually went to first when you're saying like, oh, we got these ancient rocks on the top, we don't know how it got there. I was thinking like, huh, I wonder if Australia was upside down at some point, it flipped over,
I
and
want to
that's why the
fucking
old
hit
rocks
you.
are at the top.
I want to hit you so hard.
But then I was like, nah, that probably didn't happen.
You know, God just came down, got his big old spatula, like, yeah, Australia's done cooking. I'm going to flip it to the other side.
Now, here's an even more interesting question, or hypothetical. What if those rocks aren't from Earth?
They are from Earth. They are made of Earth. It is Earth. What the fuck do you mean?
Like, what if they are extraterrestrial that happen to be the same things from
Some
Earth, and
fucking
that's how they got
ancient
on top?
Greek shit.
Aliens brought it down to construct temples, but
All
then was
right,
interrupted by
Connor,
Monkey
you
Man.
reaching. You reaching hard. You're gonna get a foul called on you. You keep reaching like that.
speaking
Jesus Christ.
speaking of sentient life,
Yeah, we're up to sixty
area.
thousand now, Levi. I'll let you take it from there.
So at about some point in around 40,000 years ago, there was a land bridge known as the Arafura Shelf, um, and it was between Australia, Papua New Guinea, and the Aru Islands. And Tasmania, which is an island off the coast of Australia, was also connected to Australia from a different land bridge. And I think about sea levels were only about 400 feet lower than they are today. So um, humans migrated into Australia through Papua New Guinea, through the Philippines, out of they believe now India, because there is similar genetic and DNA. I think Aboriginals share 11% of their DNA with Indians from India, so that's fairly high, I would argue. And and then over of course over time, these land bridges, just like in North America, the uh, the uh, the Bering Strait land bridge, I believe it was called, would eventually sink, trapping people on a continent. And there may have been more than just one migration. There may have been several migrations. But notably that these people migrated to Australia before there were migrations into Europe. So take with that as you will. But over time, these land bridges would eventually sink, and Australia and Tasmania would host um, a flourishing community of peoples on the continent. As I believe that when the first when the Dutch arrived and when the British began to arrive, and such as that, the population of Australia was almost at 1 million. And of course, these were the Aboriginals, as I said before, and with numerous tribes of their own. Kind of think of like the Native Americans, if you will, from Latin America and North America.
Mhm. I just want to state how incredible that is, how fast people actually got to Australia, how humans got to Australia so fast, but then they were just like secluded and left alone
Mm-hmm.
for literally 40,000 years. Like
For,
we just didn't nobody
for
fucked with them.
for almost 40,000 years, and New Zealand as well. Humanity, these centers of human population would lay undisturbed for for about that long of time. Now, of course, there are they have found coins, and I don't remember which sultan it was, but it was from a sultan. But they
It was
have
from
found
the 1400s.
from around the 1400s. They have found coins on from Australia dating that far back. So who really knows how those coins got there? Was it from a shipwreck? Did they land there and then leave? Who
Yeah.
knows?
When it comes to archaeology with something like that as well, you have to take coinage with a grain of salt, because it's really, especially in something like an empire or something with a dynasty, a lot of the times when a new person takes over or a new emperor or sultanate takes over, they mint all new coins.
Mhm.
Like they take the entire currency or as much as they can, and they try to mint all new coins. Usually, that only affects like the actual what am I trying to think of? It only affects the actual like centers, biggest centers of trade in the empire, sultanate, whatever. But most of the time, people will continue using other coins, and everybody accepts it because it's the same amount. It's just got a different face on it. So those coins could have been like, I don't know, someone from the 1600s still had them, or
Mm.
something like that. But if it was true that the Sultanate from the 1400s made his way to Australia, that's really interesting and probably would have been something in the, what was the library that the Huns, no, it wasn't the Huns, that the Mongols burned down. That what is it? Ended the golden age of the Muslims. It was some library that the Mongols burnt down. I'm pretty sure we could have, and it might have had the answer to this
Mm-hmm.
question is if they made it to Australia, because as all of us probably know from our research, there had been a theory since the Greeks
Oh
that
yeah, yes, that there were lands to the south.
exactly, and they didn't know like where it was though. They just knew because they used math and science to determine that there has to be land over here to counterbalance it, which is actually correct in the thinking of it. Like, you technically, the earth has to have balances on either sides or balance it from around the surface, or else if there's too much weight on one side, it's going to collapse, which is also another crazy thing to think about right now. Is like, how the fuck, what do you mean by like the earth's crust collapsing? I mean, like, you'll just see an entire mountain range like go down a couple hundred feet because it seeps into the mantle, which is what's a lot of us, a lot of people in geology don't know what the fuck's going to happen in the Himalayas in a couple millennia. No, not millennia, in a couple million years. We're like, what's going to happen? It just keeps getting bigger and higher and makes more and more displacement. And there's not enough on the other side to really counterbalance it. So what the fuck's gonna happen? Is it just gonna keep getting higher, or is it just gonna all fall in one day? It's crazy things to think about, but yeah. And Levi, do you have that phrase that they called it in
Or,
Latin?
um, I know it was like Australis. I know that's one of the
Yeah,
words.
because
I
that's
know
where Australia
something
gets
that
its
comes
name from.
before it. But yeah, as Matt was saying, like these Greek geographers, they developed the theory that there are lands to the south, yet we don't know where they are. Um, but eventually, now as far as contact goes with Australia, apart from the Sultan, the finding the Sultan's coins, um, the the Philippine there were the Philippine cities and communities did know that Australia existed, yet they really didn't want anything to do with the local population that resided on the continent. They could care less about expanding territory into Australia because at first glance Australia really doesn't look all that much, and they really didn't know how big it was. They did know like they could just maybe run a ship around the coast and see, but still though it would still there is other islands around Australia, so it could give off the impression that Australia is way larger than they thought it was, or it's way smaller than they thought it was. But fortunately, Australia is quite big. Actually, in fact,
Yeah, it
it's
is a big chunk of land.
It's massive.
you can barely fit it into America. By the way,
Yeah, it's crazy, especially for the well, I guess population it's always had. It's always had a smaller population, even if it was like modern day or indigenous people.
hmm
So yeah,
It's because it's secluded. It's isolated. The modern,
plus it's also a lot of desert, a lot of not able to live on it.
well, you can, especially with modern farming practices. And when I say modern, I mean like
well,
stuff from like the couple hundreds BC. They had modern practices to where they could make, because it's not like sandy desert, it's arid desert to where it's just dry, and that's where irrigation comes in. When you make all the canals, the dikes, the rivers,
But here's the
what you
thing
do.
with the Aboriginals, they never had a real structured civilization. They remained a tribal society for these 40,000 years, and they were nomadic. They were um, limited nomadic with a very basic, simple agricultural structure. So they did know how to farm, but they remained nomadic because
Eh,
that was their culture, and it didn't change in those 40,000 years.
It's crazy just though thinking about that because even in the North Americas, which were inhabited to our understanding 10,000 years ago by people coming over through the Bering Strait land bridge, they have societies that we can see of, including the Native Americans. We found old abandoned cities over in like Missouri, Illinois, of these giant mounds that were built, and we can see that it was a complex, but they just didn't take. Or you have the Pueblo down in the southwest to where they set up a civilization, and then once you go further south towards Central America and northern,
Mexico, the
yeah,
Aztecs,
you have the Aztecs, the Mayans, the
the
Incas. You have these great civilizations with their technological prowesses, each of them. But for the Aboriginals to not advance
in,
is,
yeah, it seems like it's puzzling, but I would almost argue maybe this is just a cultural thing.
yeah, which I will say is something that we will probably be bringing up again later, but I just want to touch on it now. All
Mhm.
the accounts on the Aboriginals said that they were very content with their life. They were happy.
Yes, right.
They loved doing it. So basically to them, why would you change something if you're being happy?
And that would puzzle European explorers. By the way,
Yeah.
this content of being happy with what you needed. Now, in a way, we could also argue that the Native Americans in North and in I'm just going to say the Americas because
Mm-hmm.
that's really what it is: Latin, South, North, the Americas. Um, in fact, it's kind of funny if if one of us were to go to, like, I don't know, Chile or Argentina, and they ask you, "Oh, who are you?" and be like, "Oh, I'm an American." They might be like, "Well, yeah, me too." But they, on the other hand, are very, very content. They very much their culture was very much live off the land.
Yeah, and I just want to also talk about their beliefs a little bit too. Look,
Dreams.
yeah, the dreams. Yes, the dreams. It is.
It's not something that's easy to describe for them, by the way.
Yeah, I just want to say it's so. It kind of goes in with a lot of people's modern thinking of how, like, oh, it's all just a simulation. It doesn't really matter because the way that they look at time is time isn't linear to them. Time
Hmm.
is just like spherical. It goes in a circle. It just keeps going over and over again. So basically, which is what a simulation is, something that just keeps going in the same thing over and over again unless you adjust the variables, then it changes it slightly. But I just that's just when I heard that,
And how?
it was
Go ahead.
crazy to
Yeah,
me.
and how past, present, and future, like, yes, they are all connected, and really nothing is just really set in stone. You actually see a lot of this that are outside of Abrahamic religions, and what do I mean by that? Christianity, Islam, Judaism, where time is very linear. There is a beginning and there is an end, whereas as for what the Aboriginals believe, time is time, and there really is no beginning or no end.
Yeah.
They got pretty deep there for a second.
Well, it's interesting. There's nothing that I've learned about compared to it in the world. Like even I don't. I'm not too well versed in Buddhism anymore to talk about that. But even them, they don't really kind of. They still kind of see time as linear. You're just becoming one with the universe. They just believe time goes on forever.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but I don't know if they view it as circular
Hmm.
or to
Uh,
where it's all interconnected in the way that the Aboriginals do. Just an interesting thing.
Another interesting thing that's not quite as philosophical is that Australia, the town of it's right south of Perth, is the antipode to where you live, Matthew. So,
It's the wait. You like it's literally the antipole to wait to
yeah,
Georgia or
yeah.
to Athens.
Um, Georgia, because technically Athens would be in the ocean.
Ah, I see. So it'd be would it be like Atlanta?
Yeah,
Okay, so
right south of Perth. Like I'm talking like 50 miles, 40 miles south.
yeah, because I'm 50 miles away from Atlanta, so that makes sense.
So
So
there you go.
Matthew could teleport to Perth at any time. That's awesome.
If he dug a hole straight down,
I would. I'm in Athens, guys. I would go into the fucking ocean.
Perhaps.
or you would be right on the beach and boom, beachfront
Pretty,
property.
pretty doubtful. Pretty sure. I'd from what you said, I'd just go into the fucking ocean.
Only one way to find out, start digging.
Uh, I've got work tomorrow, so no.
um,
That's his fucking excuse. I
You
got
know,
work tomorrow, so I'm not gonna dig through the earth.
yeah, it's a
not
great excuse.
not oh, it's the earth.
one thing I'd also like to note about the Aboriginals is that we usually there's one iconic thing that comes from Australia, and that is the boomerang. And the Aboriginals built that. Whether or not it really comes back, I could not tell you.
I believe it does. I have seen it in person come back. Um,
You
it
have?
is, yeah, it's some sorcery.
Where?
This guy I used to go to school with, he was like a big boomerang dude. It's like all he did. It was weird.
Well, wait, like in Kansas?
He was in, yeah, I mean, he wasn't from Kansas.
Who was
I
this?
don't,
I just want to
I,
know.
I don't
No, no, no,
recall his name.
don't. Yeah, never mind. We'll find out later.
I don't know his name.
You don't. Wait, what? How did? Was this at college?
yeah,
Dude, fucking some college students have some weird ass hobbies. On God.
yeah,
And
but he could throw a boomerang and it would actually come back. Like it's the way that it spins and curves. It's crazy. And I
That's
was like, whenever I tried it, it just hit the fucking tree. And I was
yeah.
like, I can't get this damn thing to work. so, um, but
That's
yeah, is that do you guys have anything else to say about
Aboriginal culture and where how they got.
yeah, anything like
Not
that?
really. That's really just the big gist of it.
I will say though that even though the Aboriginals were content, they also it was not above them to declare war on each other.
Oh yes,
Basically,
I can get into this. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'll let you go on that.
Okay. So when it comes to war in Aboriginal culture, they didn't fight war in terms of conquest. It was more of war of revenge or profit. What this usually meant is, let's say Andrew's tribe comes to my tribe, kills somebody from my tribe, so I go over and I decimate his village or whatever, or his camp, and then I just go back to my tribe, and maybe I take some of his women with me because, well, I want my people to have, or my soldiers to have kids. That would be an Aboriginal war. It isn't just I go to Andrew's camp or village, I destroy it, and I just and there I have extended my territory to here. I now own this village or camp. So they didn't really fight war in a sense of conquest, and that also baffled European colonizers as well.
I want to say the closest thing in Europe to that with like the just fighting people to steal shit from them and basically assert dominance over them, because that's also what they were doing too. They were showing that like they were the superior ones, but even though they didn't like subjugate them, the only people that I could say in Europe from more modern European history, I guess, that did that were the Vikings,
Hmm.
and we know what the well we us I hope talking on the podcast we know what they did to England. Like
Mm,
Oh,
mhm.
they almost conquered it.
yeah, but that was not the first. The first time because they were just basically sea raiders.
Yeah.
So it took a little while for them to become like, you know what? Let's start actually like taking over land and like extending our dominion. Originally, it was just like, yeah, we're fighting people to like show that we're better than them and to take wealth from them.
Yeah.
But but yes, that is what the how the Aboriginals dealt with their differences. They weren't con- conquest crazy.
They
They were
weren't
just like
yeah,
beef. If we have beef, we're fighting.
yeah, it was mainly, like I said, mainly wars of revenge or plunder. As far as taking your land, there's really no need. There's really no need for me to take your land.
That's because they also didn't have a like conception of ownership of land. Like they
Well, yeah,
didn't
yes, that's
think
what
they
I'm
could
getting
own
at
land.
here. Like, well, why would I take your land if I'm just gonna have my tribe move in the next 10 years?
Exactly.
So,
Mm,
And
mhm.
all of that brings us to now from
European,
there, I will say there was a little bit of contact between like New Guinea and maybe a little bit of Southeast Asia to like Northern Australia, as Levi talked about earlier. But besides that, nobody's really fucking with it. Everybody's just leaving it alone, like, yeah, we don't care. Until
none other
the
than
Dutch.
the Dutch arrive.
Those little rascals, Dutch.
The Dutch really do
The Dutch
be
East
doing.
Trading Company, nonetheless, or was it the East Trading Company? I can't remember.
It was. You're
It was.
correct.
I didn't know there was like another trade. I'm pretty sure it's just the East Trading Company. I didn't know if they ever had any other branches.
No, yeah, it's the East India Trading Company.
Yeah,
Hmm.
which was
But yeah,
very wealthy, by the way.
but y'all remember the name of the Dutch guy?
Yes, and it would actually. Well, I know what the name of one of them, probably the most important, and it would be who Tasmania would be named after. It'd be Abel Janszoon Tasman. And now, is that who you're thinking of, Matthew?
No, I'm thinking about
This would be in
where
the. This would be in like the 1600s.
1606.
Hmm. Okay, you're thinking 1606, but this
Yeah.
guy was born in 1603.
So okay, then the one actually, this guy was just known for mapping it,
Mm-hmm.
mapping a lot of it. It's Wilhelm Janszoon. Janszoon. I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch. If there's anybody from Deutschland, I think that's wrong as well. Listening, I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch or
Damn.
German or
He
Belgian.
jumped in. He jumped into the hole and then started digging.
Yeah, that's what I do. But like, I don't speak Dutch. You can all leave it in the comments of how to properly pronounce it. I don't know. And honestly, I kind of don't care. But, the Dutch were there, which the Dutch, throughout a lot of history at this time, in the 1600s, are kind of notorious for like, we're going to go do whatever the fuck we want and trade with whoever the fuck we want.
So I kind of like that the whole thing about Australia, like when you're on the playground in a middle school and you're like, oh yeah, Australia, that's where they send all the convicts and stuff, blah blah blah. Um, the actual origins of settlement in Australia, from what I read, were actually kind of accurate, but not too much. When they were first mapping Australia and stuff, they weren't settling Australia, probably because it looked barren. It was like, "Ah, there's nothing here." But the first permanent settlers came from either shipwrecked people, so boats that wrecked in there and they couldn't leave, or from criminals that were like performing thievery or mutiny and things like that.
Pirates.
So, yeah, so the whole later we do read that like England did
The,
send
does
criminals.
It does. Yes, they would then start penal colonies, but I can get into a lot of that because the criminals they sent there probably not the criminals that a lot of people might think of.
Yeah, they weren't like super bad. Um, at
It was
least,
debtors mostly.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, so to finish up with the Dutch, they come to Australia. As Matthew mentioned, that Jansoon, and then the Jansoon I was talking about. Um, this guy would sail around Australia. His first voyage, he would not hit mainland Australia, although he thought he did when he hit the island of Tasmania. But he named it something different. I think he named it. It was something Dutch, Helland or something like that. But on the second voyage, he would hit Australia, and that's what he'd be mainly known for. And 200 years later, they would rename Tasmania to Tasmania after him.
Hmm.
But so jumping ahead to nearly 200 years later, um, do you guys know the year when they really would? Well, I think about like 100 years later when the British would really start to begin forming penal colonies on the continent.
I just one more thing with the Dutch. Can I
Yeah,
say
go
before we
ahead.
move on?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure it's the Dutch's fault that the Aboriginals were portrayed as like
Oh,
hostile and bloodthirsty. Is
mhm.
because I'm pretty sure the Dutch went there and started some shit with them.
Oh, no doubt.
There was a small
Miss-
battle to where 10 Dutchmen died fighting
yeah.
with the Aboriginals, and I just know it was probably some Dutch asshole like, hey, give me all your valuables or trade with me, and they just didn't understand because who the fuck would speak Aboriginal? And they've at this time it was all about colonization and conquest in the European era, and it was the start of it. So I just they started some shit with them, and honest to God, the Dutch started shit that probably persisted for the centuries afterwards when the British were colonizing it and setting up settlements. To why when the British got there and they tried to set up settlements, they were instantly attacked with aggression. Because
Mhm.
even though they're a tribal society, they talk to each other. The tribes talk to each other, and if they're like, "Hey, these
I believe
white
that
motherfuckers attacked us and
I
like
believe, I
killed
believe,
us."
just real quick, I believe that the Aboriginals had like over 100 languages within their own continent, but they could
Shit.
all, they, but it was a very common language. So although unlike the Germanic and Celtic tribes of Europe, who had nothing in common with one another, um, I think we stated this previously. If like let's say one Germanic tribe speaks to another Germanic tribe, they could be speaking a completely different language that really has nothing in common. Whereas the Aboriginals shared I believe a mostly, although they had many different languages, a mostly common language that could easily be translated.
Yeah, but I'm just I'm just also kind of talking a bit of shit on the Dutch because I know of a bunch of other things and other places they've gone throughout history to where it was kind of the world agreed, like, yeah, don't go there. And they're just like, well, I'm
Oh,
going to do it anyways.
we see this again with European colonizers. Uh, call this the Christopher Columbus mistake, where the Europeans come to a far off land and they just don't know how to properly interact with the native population.
Ah,
Yeah.
Christopher
At this
Columbus. What a
period,
guy.
yeah,
He's
but but we're
kind
not
of a
talking about Christopher Columbus because he has nothing to do with Australia. Quick tidbit: Christopher Columbus died thinking he found trade with China. By the way, so
Christopher Columbus was not that smart of a man. Um,
No, he was not. He thought the planet was pear shaped, but I will say, thank you for thinking the Earth was pear shaped, you crazy fucking man. Because now I live in the United States and it's pretty cool.
all right. So Europeans come to Australia. They name it. I believe it was the British who named who. I can't remember which British explorer, but I know it was called New Holland for a bit by the Dutch. That changed quickly because the Dutch kind of just left. Didn't really
Yeah.
much care for the continent. They really didn't see much value in it. Whereas the British, looking to expand their territory, and this is at the time of, let's just say at this time, things are getting a little heated in a town across the sea.
Across the
Uh,
pond.
yeah, across the ocean, known as Boston, and a little place known as the American colonies.
Now, this is a thing that is important when discussing this.
Lobsterbacks commit a massacre.
When the British did start colonial expansion, so that was around early 1800s. You do have to remember that, yeah, they're dealing with the Americas and their rebellion. And then what we just talked about for 2 months are also dealing with the French. So this is more like,
Well, I'll get into the French later because the French do come to Australia, but they never do anything. I'll get
yeah.
to that real quick.
It's probably because the guy got his fucking head cut off.
It does have
But
everything to do with
but
that. But go
my
ahead.
point was that just that this just shows like how many places England is touching all at once, all in this time period.
Okay.
Like we
England,
keep coming back to this time period, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, they're here as well, and they're there, and they're there, and
yeah,
they're there. Like
England
they're
will be around the
everywhere.
world until towards the mid of the 20th century.
Yeah.
So, as I said, Britain is looking to expand. Things are going awry in the colonies. I believe that this is before the full blown revolution in the colonies, but they know that eventually they're going to have to do something. Now, with here's the thing about Australia and America is that we come from almost a similar background, kind of as far as British colonialization goes. There were some penal colonies here in the colonies in the early days of colonialism, where we touched a little bit upon before. But basically, yes, a lot of these penal colonies weren't just, oh, we'll send all the murderers, the rapists, we're going to send them to this far off land where they'll all die of disease probably. No, not at all. As Matthew said, they were the debt. They were people who were debtors. Um, Basically, listen, they knew that they wanted to colonize these lands, but they couldn't just put idiots on the on the land as well.
Yeah.
Put people on there that had an education, had some experience, and that they knew. Sorry, that they knew that were good at kind of state building as well, town building. Um, Now, in America, there were the Pilgrims, and there was Jamestown and all of that. But when real American colonialization began, that's the one implement that the British used, and they would do it again on Australia with penal colonies. They wouldn't just send the murderers and the rapists. They sent people who knew what they were doing and to live out their sentence on the continent. And when they would get out, guess what? You got a job building a new town.
I also want to. Can I just? I'm gonna do a slight sidebar
Mm.
on just the reason so many people were in debt during this time and why, how it happened, and it's also part of the reason why the American Revolution happened as well, and that's because of taxes. People were taxed so much that they couldn't pay those taxes. They would get into debt, and then they'd be thrown to debtor's prison, which is also why there is something in the United States Constitution about people not being able to be in, people citizens are not allowed to be imprisoned for debt, which is which was revolutionary because that's the way back then that they got cheap good labor is you would get these kind of like not a true middle class, but you get these skilled laborers. You get
Mm.
these people who it's not just like an assembly line person or a miner or something like that. You get like artisans, you get the masonries, you get the carpenters, and you tax them to hell to where they can't pay their taxes, and then they get sent to prison, and then you use them and send them to your penal colonies and have them work there. And that's just something I wanted to talk about real quick,
Mhm.
is why there were so many skilled laborers in these debtors' prisons as well, is because of the taxes that were put on them. And that's why it was such a high importance, again, a bit of a sidebar, in the US Constitution to have, like, people can't go to jail for debt, because we look at it now in the 21st century and we're like, why is this in here? Nobody's going to go to jail for debt. Nobody would do that to somebody, but it was a very common practice back then.
Hmm.
Sorry, you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, you summed it up perfectly. So now, as far as settling the land goes, um, I can't remember the name of the man who did it, but I believe it was Captain Cook, Captain James Cook, who would. Now I don't know if this I don't know if that was him. I don't know if it was a British explorer before him, but I'm pretty sure it was
No,
Captain James
it's
Cook.
James Cook. You're right.
He would give the eastern half of the island the name of South Wales, and he would leave. Then he would go back to King George III, and that's where the whole land down under thing comes from because he gives this this shit post of a poem to the king. It was well, he recites it, but he said I can't remember how it goes, but it has the land down under, and King George III is like baffled by what he said, and then it's like King George III is like what, and then Captain James Cook then says something snide. It just replies with a snide remark, and and then King George III is like just scoffs and just like well, get out of my
Yeah.
sight.
The man literally shit posted the king, basically.
Yeah, basically. But
Honest to God.
that's where we get the quote "land down under." And if the audience knows anything about James Cook, and you guys know anything about James Cook, he was a famous British explorer. He would go on to discover Hawaii, but he would die on his third trip there of a stab wound.
Oh, yikes! That's a
So,
hell of a way to go out.
but
Yeah.
so the British have South Wales on the continent, but what about on the eastern side of the continent? But what
Hmm.
about the west side? Well, lo and behold, the French were there, and they claimed the western side. And as we discussed previously, why didn't the French really stay there or do anything? Well, back in their home country, people were getting their heads cut off,
Yeah,
and
they were.
and a young Corsican general was making a name for himself. So
Don't you mean
Corsican.
Italian?
he's Corsican, but
I'll accept it.
so that's why the British would inevitably just absorb the western half of the continent, and throughout the early 1800s, from about like 1810 through about 1830, life was hard for the settlers. Like even with the penal colonies sending these skilled workers there, as Matt discussed earlier, it's kind of like this land is new to them. They've never had to deal with something like this before.
Hmm.
It's getting hard to farm. It's getting hard to colonize. It's getting hard build towns. And it's starting to look bad. It's starting to look like they might have to abandon their efforts and leave. And I can't remember. I don't know if this is when the wars began. I'm going to look it up just very quickly.
The what
Um,
war begins?
the Frontier Wars. I don't know if this was okay. Okay, yes, there would be the Australian Frontier Wars would begin in 1788. So what are the Frontier Wars? Well, like I said previously, there was the Christopher Columbus mistake between the Aboriginals and the British, and they would basically be at war. These would be like small skirmishes. Aboriginals would raid the British towns, or the British army would raid Aboriginal villages or camps. Some estimates claim that about 2,000 British would die, and other estimates would claim about 5,000 to 20,000 Aboriginals would die.
Damn.
So, by the way, there's still like I said previously, there's a lot of Aboriginals on the continent. I think I said like they had like before when the European colonizers got there, there's about 1 million of them there. So, and on Tasmania too, by the way.
Don't forget about Tasmania. Don't you dare. They are treated. They are treated very poorly, though.
They are
Not gonna
treated very
lie.
differently.
Like
There's really,
cynicism to the max.
hmm. Although there is some elements of Aboriginals, some Aboriginals making peace with the British, others being integrated into their society. I remember seeing a painting of like an Aboriginal in like a full blown British military suit. So that was pretty cool. But but on like the main but the mainstream thing was the Aboriginals and the British really would not get along, and these frontier wars would actually end in 1939 before the Second Great World War.
Wait. Did you say the Second World War or the
Yeah,
First World War?
the Second World War. The wars would not end until 1939. Or that's when they claimed that they ended. I mean, by that point, I really think it really just died down by like 1890. To be honest with you, but
Official, like when it actually ended.
Yo, British like the British were fucking doing crazy shit everywhere during that
mm,
time period. Because I just know also off the top of my head, like that's when Rorke's Drift took place as well. Was during that time period
mm,
where they were fighting the Zulu, and then I think they had like the Boers War as well, and then where else were they that they kept fucking around with shit? I think India. They had insurrections. It's the British were just fucking everywhere, like stirring up shit everywhere.
It's kind of
Singapore,
like it's kind of
fucking
like the
huh?
U.S. today. We really just took their mantle.
Yeah,
mm.
duh. What do you
Hey,
mean?
hey,
Which,
hey! Don't be snippy.
which,
Don't be
which,
snippy.
which? There's argument that we are kind of British because we came from Britain. So really, we're just continuing on. But
Oh wait, listen here, bruv. Do I speak? Do I drink tea?
Okay.
No,
Oi mate,
I
you're a
drink
loin.
Coca Cola.
you know what? I
Oi
can
mate,
say it
you
since
got a
I
loin.
can cut it out. What you should have said, Matthew, was, "Oi, do I speak cockatooth?"
uh, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, I can censor that out though,
Do
so
my
I
teeth
good.
look crooked to you?
What is this? 109. Put that
But
in that way. It's easier
um,
to. But yeah.
anyways,
So, question. So there's you guys honestly have said a
We
lot.
we
Um,
haven't said everything though. We're not
mm,
even up to like
and we're not getting specific. By the
yeah,
way,
we're in the
a whole lot of there's
1800s.
a whole lot of names and other things we have not gone over.
There's a
true.
lot that's about to happen though. Like Australia is about to go through a lot of shit. The biggest thing though is at the turn of the 20th century,
Oh no
they
no
become independent.
yes, but there was
Yes.
a big thing that happens in 1851, I believe. Yes, in 1851.
Are you
What is?
talking about the gold?
Yes, the Australian gold rush, which is actually a really long gold rush.
Yes, it is.
So, gold would be found in Australia in 1851, gold flakes. And unlike the Californian gold rush, which only lasted for, I think, about like 10 or 20 years,
Not long.
yeah, not long, this would last from about 1851 to about 1914. This was a long time. This was a long gold rush. And what we see is just all that stuff I said previously about things going bad for the Australian settlers trying to do their thing and live on the land. Oh, bro, things are about to get way better. Oh man, Australia almost explodes.
Yeah, because gold brings people
Gold
looking for
brought
gold,
a lot of people,
and that brings
a
businesses, that
lot of
brings
British,
production, just
some
everything.
southern Chinese came. a lot of people came to Australia,
Americans.
Americans as well. In fact, during this time, from about 1851 through about I'd say 1900, um, we see we see like a kind of like the similar set of scenes in Australia, like kind of like the Wild West, and 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 in America. And for those of you who don't know, the Wild West is usually accepted that it began in 1865 and lasted until 1900 in America. Kind of the same thing in Australia. That
Hmm.
unlike these rootin' tootin' cowboys, you'd have the Bush Rangers, most notably Ned Kelly and the Ned Kelly Gang. Why are they famous? Well, they're known for making this ironclad armor that revolvers could not puncture through.
Just like in that one movie,
Yeah, I don't know what movie you're talking about, but
Yeah,
yeah.
good specifics, Andrew.
Back to the Future 3.
Oh,
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah,
oh,
Ned Kelly would be one of the most famous bush rangers of Australia. That doesn't mean he was a good person, by the way. He was kind of a bastard, but that's besides the point.
kind of a bastard, if I do say so myself.
He would die in 1880, but
Yeah.
that's what he'd be famous for was his gang. His gang would wear armor. In fact, if you look it up right now, you can see it almost it kind of looks medieval in a way. But if you look up the armor, you can like see like where the bullets hit and stuff like that, where
Hmm.
it dents the armor and stuff.
It's crazy. Do you guys think? Oh, well, okay, wait. Let me rephrase this. So do you? How wild would it be? I guess that it's like mid 1800s. You're in the United States, and you're like, hey, they found gold in Australia. And you're like, what the fuck is Australia? It's like, oh, it's this nation. Well, it's not a nation. It's this territory that the British own that's literally on the opposite side of the world. Well, okay, let's pack up and go.
Yeah, a lot of people did that.
I find that to be insane.
I mean, yeah, but most of the things people did, like, were are insane if you think about it.
Yeah,
To like, for when it comes to
even
exploration,
even traveling to California in that point was insane.
yeah,
So yeah,
like risk. You just got to be risky.
most died.
Yeah, got to be risky. Got to risk it for the biscuit, Andrew.
Got to risk it for the biscuit.
All
Um,
that for to find one piece of gold and like, yeah, I did it.
Half my family died along the way, and the other half is now dying from these terrible conditions I'm living in. But I found that one nugget of gold, and that's gonna make it all better. Oh, never
so
mind. I have black lung.
so um what so what does this mean for the aboriginals? Is life getting better for the aboriginals? Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, they participate a little bit in it. Like I said, they really just don't have any concept as to why all these strangers are coming to their continent and digging with shovels and sticking them in the ground.
Yeah,
Like we said before, they really don't understand why they put value on such they see
crazy.
they see it as meaningless things.
But honestly, I agree. Like it is value that modern day people, and not even modern day people, I guess. It's just different civilizations. This different civilization that
Culture.
happened to be, yeah, different culture that happened to be the most populous one. Found this gold stuff, and one day we're just like, yeah, this is worth a lot, and yeah, and other cultures do see, and like, why?
Now, what does this mean for the Aboriginals? That yes, frontier wars is still going on, but with all these Europeans and other people just coming to Australia, I think even before this, but especially now, the Aboriginals like I said before, the Christopher Columbus mistake. Although they don't really know that they're doing this, can't really fault them too much. They don't know that they're infecting them with smallpox,
Mm-hmm.
tuberculosis, other diseases that they had not built up any kind of immunity to beforehand. Diseases that they really weren't exposed to at all. Now, I don't know how badly this ravaged the Aboriginal population. Just know that it did happen, and it was bad.
Yeah, and I mean that's basically like what whenever we talk about these colonizations, that's something that's always going to pop up. We talked about it with Aztecs too. Is whenever these European people find these natives anywhere, whether they are attacking them or not attacking them, we hear that, oh, by the way, they got infected by all these European diseases that they weren't immune to, and it basically wiped out their like wiped them out.
Mhm.
So, and when I say wipe them out, I don't mean like it's a 99% kill rate, but I mean that a lot of people died.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's basically like pre-immunization kind of death rates to where it's like, yeah, you're probably going to lose like 50% of your population.
Yeah.
So think
So,
about the million Aboriginals that were on Australia before the Europeans got there, and then now that the Europeans are there with their new diseases, half of them died.
Mhm.
But that's just from that million. Like they're still making babies, so it's probably more like the number would be around at like 600, 700,000 at the end
Mhm.
of it. Statistics and whatnot.
But nonetheless, Australia literally becomes a gold mine, and it gets Australia becomes so wealthy that actually Melbourne, Australia, will become the second largest city within the British Empire, next to none other than London.
that is crazy. That like honestly, that is crazy to think about
Yo,
cuz
this land we didn't even know existed like a few hundred years ago. Yeah, it's fucking
it's popping.
it's popping B.
It really is popping. His business is booming. But
um so yeah, that big gold rush happened, and then uh I would say so. I guess we should say that they're colonies right now. They're not a form of nation or anything. There's six colonies down there, and um, it wasn't until 1901 that they, uh, or when was the year that they became a nation?
it would be 1900. It would be the day of the beginning of the new century that Australia would become a new nation.
So 1901,
Although
January 1st.
although it was nation in name, it was still very much under British rule. Although they did have their own parliament, their own prime minister,
Hmm.
this and that. They
Isn't it still under British rule?
uh, technically
Kind of like Canada.
they're still kind of a British Commonwealth, but just for honor, and just for namesake, they still
Gotcha.
owe their full allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II.
So it's kind of the same as Canada.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, okay. Um, yeah. So, how deep did we want to get into the origins of Australia? Because technically, we've kind of said how Australia came to be. Now, we could go farther. A lot of it starts getting into like wars and stuff, because of course, the Great War happens
Mhm.
right after this, and Australia is involved.
Mhm.
Um, and other things. So we could save this for another time. And honestly, this might be like a good time period not to really fiddle around with. I know we did with China. They were a little different.
I'm
Um,
I kind of just want to go like through World War I and like the Depression, like talk about that. I don't want to get to World War II with Australia because that's a whole nother bag of
Mhm.
worms to really get into in
okay,
the
then
sense
yeah, okay.
like because I
Well,
want to talk about the Australians and how even though they're independent, they are still like a commonwealth
Yes.
under
They're
the
so
British Empire.
yes.
we can do that.
So
Britain still has a lot of say in their government.
yeah,
Government.
so like they have their own parliament and everything, but they still recognize the queen as like their sovereign. So when World War One breaks out, the I think it's like 500,000 Australians volunteer, and Australia is one of the few countries that doesn't have a draft and doesn't allow for people to be conscripted into the army. So this was all volunteer, and 500,000 of them decided to. The biggest thing from World War II that Australians are known for.
Or World War? You mean World War One?
Oh yeah, World War One. My bad. My bad. World War II is different other stuff.
Hmm.
But from World War One, the biggest thing that the Australians are known for, besides the fighting in the Somme, is Gallipoli. Now,
Hmm.
I'm not going to get too in depth on Gallipoli because we are going to. There will be a World War One series eventually, to where I
Gotcha.
think we're just going to probably have to spend. We could probably do it in like
Yeah.
Half a
two
year.
or no, no, no. And like, I'm trying to think of how many episodes we'd want to do it because
I don't know. We'll have to figure that
I
out.
Didn't
think
the
Like,
that'd be
Great
a couple.
War already do that? But
It
on
would
YouTube,
be a few, at least like three. There'd be
can
at
I
least three. Go ahead.
can I just mention something real quick before you go start talking about the Australians and Gallipoli? Just know real quick, Gallipoli would be Winston Churchill's biggest fuck up.
now, okay, and I hope you guys are telling me about Gallipoli too, because again, this is one of the things I don't know about. So you're gonna have to like,
Oh, okay.
and
I
you need
will.
to also inform the audience along with me. What is Gallipoli?
Gallipoli is in the southern Cape of Turkey. It is actually a historical landing spot for invasions throughout like the past. And when people were to invade Turkey, they would land there. Warning sign number fucking one: if you're a military tactician, don't go to the same place everybody has already gone to before, dipshit. Sorry, that's my opinion. Don't do the same thing. It kind of comes back to bite you in the ass, like, oh, I wonder where they might possibly land.
Oh, the Turks definitely are not going to have machine gun pillboxes in the cliffs.
Or they're
No,
gonna have their artillery zeroed in? No way. Unbelievable. They're gonna fight hard for their homeland? These are the Turks. That all they do is drink coffee. Nah, they're not gonna do anything. They're a decline. They're an empire in decline. They ain't gonna fight that hard. Wrong. So, as Levi said, well, as anybody that knows anything about World War One, it's literal hell on earth. Anywhere,
Gallip-
everywhere.
Gallipoli is just a mess from
Yeah,
the day one.
they don't have the. I'm not gonna get too into it, but they don't have landing craft, so they're using
They don't have
rowboats.
they don't have proper landing craft.
Yeah, so they're using rowboats. I'd like to see you row a boat at a beach while you're getting shot at by machine guns.
Maxim machine guns.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to take that very well. But I'm just going to go over the battle tolls. It's crushing defeat for the Allies in World War One. Winston Churchill kind of disgraced after this because they're like, "You fucking idiot! Why did you do that?" So many
Hmm.
people died needlessly. But so 8,000 Australians died, along with another 22,000 to bring 30,000 people within. And I think it was like only a few weeks, maybe a week, that all these people died.
Hmm.
Maybe it was only a few days. I don't
Other
know the
other Br-
exact.
other
Hmm?
British expeditionary forces, forces from India, New Zealand. New Zealand was also there, but we're talking about Australians here.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Australians that were brought there, 8,000 of them died, which is, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but to lose that many men that fast is just absurd. And then after they were pulled out of Gallipoli, they were sent to the Somme.
Oh yeah, they would be sent to the war in France, which was just at this point in 1916, it was just nothing but bloodbath
Yeah.
for the.
Oh, Levi, this was before. This was right before the Somme offensive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they were literally taken out of the frying pan and thrown into the fucking lava at that point. It's like, oh yeah, you were at Gallipoli? Yeah, that was pretty bad. Get ready for this. But that's for another episode. I just wanted to talk about that. And so now, after World War One, it's over. Da da da. Then we have the Great Depression. The unemployment rate is similar around the
Like
world
30%.
at 30%. Absurd. And but during this time,
In Australia, by the way.
yeah, in Australia, during this time, we have one of the most fantastic things to
The,
ever happen in the world.
the thing that's been memed the most of
It's
Australia.
been memed into oblivion, and that's the Emu War. I just it wasn't truly a war per se.
I
It was a
love the
proxy war.
Emu War because the Emu War just shows that man cannot control nature. This
Well,
fucking hearing about the Emu War, where like when you don't know much about it, basically all you hear is like, "Hey, did you know once that Australia was like, there's too many fucking emus. We're gonna attack them and try to like drive them out." And the funniest part is just when you go like, oh, "By the way, the emus won."
yeah,
Like,
they lost. They lost. But in all reality, it was only like two guys out there with machine guns just shooting at a bunch of fucking emus, and then the emus got pissed. So,
as
yeah,
they should be.
that's the one thing I wanted to talk about this episode more than anything was the fucking emu war
The
and how they,
great, the great
the
Emu War.
great emu war and how basically it's just two guys with machine guns just shooting at a bunch of emus and then the emus won somehow. I'm like, how the fuck did they die?
Stampede.
Did they
Stampede.
die? Did the emus kill them?
I'm pretty sure
I love if you
they,
read about it, it's like the difficulties facing farmers were increased by the arrival as many as 20,000 emus. It's like, holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's
all
just
the fucking emus.
I want to know because emus can kill a person with their kick. Like
Oh
these
yeah.
are the biggest terrestrial land birds in existence, and their kick can kill you. I think they can peck you to death too, but I think they're gonna kick you more than anything. But like, did they die? Can are
I'm
you
pretty.
guys searching that up?
I was supposed to say I'm pretty sure that those two soldiers died. I don't know.
They
I
die.
I don't think anyone died.
Okay.
really. I know it was like considered a it's considered a
It's
complete
considered
failure.
a failure, yeah.
But okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if anybody died, but if they were to have died, they probably would have got trampled.
Yeah.
The
But
emus just said, "Fuck it." We got more of us than they had bullets.
honestly, they did. They only had like 1,000 rounds of ammunition. They're like, we'll be fine. 1,000 rounds, we'll be fine, right? I had less than this with me in the trenches. We'll be fine against a bunch of birds. No.
Little did they know.
Little did they know the Hun is not the most dangerous thing they'd fight in their life. It was the emu. It was the horde of emu that they were ill prepared to deal with. Can't
There's so many funny lines reading about it. It's like this line alone. The minister approved the release of 500,000 rounds of ammunition. It's like if you just take sentences out of this, it's fucking hilarious when it's in context of the Emu War, the Great Emu War.
access to 500,000 rounds, but they only brought 1,000 with them. What the fuck's wrong with them?
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And it's like it's funny because it is like a legitimate problem. It was a Great Depression and like people were starving and they needed to make food and these fucking emus were like eating all the food. So it's like, yeah, they what do? You got to
Eat the
kill the
emus.
emus, I guess, but they
Just
won.
eat the emus. Just
Oh
eat the
man.
emus.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
gonna eat.
know.
I don't know if you eat emu. I mean, I'm
You
sure
can eat everything, Andrew.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, just get
I
sick,
mean,
die.
I mean, I think their eggs are like really big, so that'd be like a really awesome omelet or something.
got the right thought process going right now.
Uh,
What does emu egg taste like?
Also, an emu is a flightless bird. So why is everyone? There's so many flightless birds. I was led to believe as a child that the penguin was the only flightless bird. What a fucking lie!
No, these
Kiwis?
flightless birds are fucking dangerous. Like cassowaries, like don't fuck with them; they'll cut you up.
Yeah, like it's
Yo,
just
just
Listen. I know they have really pretty feathers, but if they start showing them, you need to
right.
run.
wait. Are you talking about peacocks?
No, cassowaries.
No, not peacocks.
All right.
Yeah, it's
What
just
the fuck's a cassowary?
Cassow.
Everyone at home, Google this as well.
Yeah, Cassowary.
Oh,
That's
dude, nah, that's a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Dude,
what.
don't that motherfucker literally survived a fucking asteroid. Leave that bitch alone.
Yeah, do
everyone go to patreon.com/someoneandrew and in the comments of this video tell us what is do you think you could kill an emu hand to hand?
Hand to hand, no. Wait, do I get a knife or is it just like, am I beatboxing this motherfucker?
It's nature to nature, man.
Dude,
You
I'm
know?
gonna lose.
Leave it in the comments below.
This is so,
Do you
Andrew.
think and then after that, I want you to also leave in the comments who do you think would win, a kangaroo or an emu?
Oh,
That is the one thing about Australia. So I think we're kind of done with the origins of Australia.
yeah, we're
Um,
done with that.
but and it's interesting when you actually like learn about it and it's not just oh the origins of Australia they were British and they were all the criminals and that then I don't know it's a little more complicated than that. The Dutch saw them for or the Dutch founded it first, and then it kind of like the British were there, the French were there, but really it was that gold rush. At least
and
personally I think it was that gold rush that really
and there was this there was this like this glimpse of maybe an American
hmm
colony being set up there. So it would have been a very interesting alternate history if, let's say, the east, yeah, the eastern part of the continent is British, the middle part of the continent is American, and the western part of the continent is French. That would have been
yeah
a
like
very interesting alternate
outcome.
history. Yeah,
Yeah, which, who knows in 100 years? Because, like, if we've learned anything from doing this podcast, it's that time doesn't slow down and things change very quickly for a lot of things. And
I
I'm
mean, I think
sure,
we got a lot in common with the Aussies. I think they'll back us up.
yeah,
Hopefully, I hope
yeah.
they'll back us up.
Please, please.
Please.
Um, but yeah, I found all this very interesting. So I encourage everyone else to go out, read a little more about Australia and the origins of it, and what the nation's actually about. Read about the Great Emu War. I'm sure there's lots of letters and autobiographies about veterans, which actually most people fighting in it were veterans of World War I. So
Farmers as well.
yeah, farmers. So um, yeah. So, is there anything else that you guys would like to throw into here before we go to our nation rankings?
I just honestly, to God, I'm not like exaggerating this or anything. That bird you made me search up is it's literally a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah, Cassowaries are fucking
See,
don't
now
Yeah,
I gotta look this up. How'd you spell it? K-A-S?
okay, Cassowary.
yeah,
Okay,
no, like
what does this
this is
say?
what I was talking about at the beginning with like there was dinosaurs on fucking Australia that survived the fucking meteor impact. It's those
Oh no.
motherfuckers.
And you know what? Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
I don't know if
Don't
they
go to Australia because spiders will punch you off your bike. Like
Oh my god, I forgot about the spiders and the
everything
snakes.
there. The
Man,
snakes, the kangaroos, like we joke about it. Those things are as popular as deer are here, but they will fucking break your neck in a punch. Like you don't. The nature in Australia is scary.
it's cool.
It's cool from far away. If you live there though, I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, that ain't it. That ain't it, Chief. The fucking outback is meant to be an outback and down under from for a reason
Yeah, I'll
to stay
stick with
away from me.
my opossums and the occasional bobcat.
Yeah,
So
like honestly, fucking terrifying Australia. You scare the shit out of me. If there's any Australians that ever hear this, how the fuck do you guys live there? It seems like a waking nightmare.
also their toilets go the wrong way, and I just can't handle that.
Oh,
I
that
can't
doesn't
do that.
bother me. That don't bother me at all.
I
Fucking
can't do that.
toilet.
Um, all right. So, Matthew, is there anything else you would like to add with all this?
Uh, Australia. I hope to visit it one day, but you guys don't allow people to have guns, so that's pretty. How am I supposed to protect myself against your fucking beautiful, terrifying landscape?
All
Good job,
right.
Down Under.
Levi, do you have any closing thoughts about this?
Where should I visit first, Melbourne or Sydney? I'm just kidding. They ain't that far apart. And the capital's in the middle of the two towns.
It is, yeah. Honestly, unless you want to go to Prague, that's what's called, right? Prague on the western coast.
I have no idea.
Perth?
Perth.
Perth, not
Yeah,
Prague. Perth. Thank you.
Prague is in
that's
Czechoslovakia.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I meant Perth. Um, but Perth is the west. Everything else is on the east. So like, I mean, obviously there's more in the west, but like all the big stuff is on the east. Um, so yeah. Well, I guess that'll do it for the origins of Australia. Now, tradition dictates that we rank our nation. Nah, scholar ballers. The current topic ranking goes as follows. At number one, we have the Akkadian and Assyrian Mesopotamia. Number two, we have Aztec Empire. Number three, we have 20th century China. Number four, the French Empire. Number five, medieval Germany. And number six, Yayoi and Kofun, Japan. Where do you guys feel Australia's origin goes? What are you feeling? Interest of topic? How much you like it? Where are you putting it?
I mean, it was interesting as hell, that's for sure. Like,
Four.
I loved learning about it more, especially like
Four.
its
Are you
actual
saying
origins.
above the French Empire,
No,
Levi?
I'm gonna say four, and I'm gonna leave it like that. But if you two, I ain't gonna be mad if you guys don't think it deserves a lower score.
You'd put it at number four, bumping the French Empire down to five.
Yeah, I
mm,
would.
Interesting.
I would.
Matthew,
I
what
would.
about you?
I I really love the French Empire. I feel like it should have gone a little bit higher. But with that said, that is not how it is. So I'd say, compared to everything else we've talked about, hmm, hmm,
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it doesn't matter if I say something like the majority is already it's gonna be a four because even if I were to say it was like a three, that's still round down to a four. Like
I'm
in my
sorry.
heart, it's a three. I did like Australia, and I'm excited to talk about it again in the future when we talk about World War II and World War I
Hmm.
more in depth. But for right now, yeah,
So you say three. Levi says four. I'll go ahead and I will agree with that four. It was a different type of learning with this as opposed to the French Empire. The French Empire was long, but it was it was a lot about Napoleon, and then it was a lot of the same. This actually was like, uh, how do you say? It was just different what we were learning about. It wasn't all war and things like that. So we'll go ahead and plop it down at number four. Australia's origins. So that means number one is Mesopotamia. Number two are the Aztecs. Number three is 20th century China. Number four is Australia. Number five is the French Empire. Number six is medieval Germany. And number seven is Yayoi and Kofun, Japan. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to do a little skid and bop here for a second. Um,
skid and bop. The fuck's a skid and bop?
when you kind of like you two chat while I do a thing real quick. Levi, tell Matthew about that thing. And the audience can listen to this interesting story. Um, yeah, go ahead and do that.
I thought we're done with the podcast. It's already 11:45.
We got to choose our topic and then we'll be done.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of things to talk about. Shit. I don't know.
I just want to make a statement though. this entire time we've been doing this podcast, this is the first time I've done something like this, but I've also been playing Rome Total War 2
Yeah, I
the
saw it
entire
on
time.
Steam pop up.
Oh, you did? You
Also, I've
knew.
heard the clicking.
Sorry, I like my mechanical mouse. But
I
I.
know.
What?
Let's talk about Neolithic times.
What about it?
Yeah, just about it, bro.
What do you want to talk about with New Rock?
Time, bro. Big
New
rock.
Rock time.
Dude, my rock, not your rock.
No, it's
So
New Rock.
no, it's my rock.
No, it just means New Rock.
This rock's gonna go over your fucking head if you keep arguing.
All
with
right, thank you
Listen
for
here,
that.
bro. Here,
I
I'll
got
fucking
the.
take you down. I will sell you rock and then beat you to death with New Rock.
See, now, Levi, I have to ask: is that where you want me to censor?
me. Yeah, before I plunge my copper axe in Matt's fucking skull.
All right, I gotta put it.
Joke's on you. I've already got bronze.
I gotta put in our timestamp. All right. Okay, so boys, scholar ballers.
Shut the
Our
Still don't
next,
like that.
you have for your next choice 3 options. We have
Please
the
let hentai be
battle.
one.
Nope, not yet. We have the Battle of Pearl Harbor, so a little modern. We have the Egyptian King Tut era,
Oh yeah.
a little ancient. And then we have 1800s Russia,
Oh.
Ooh,
their time period, kind of in the middle.
Chaucer.
1800s Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivan. No, that's not Ivan the Terrible.
Yeah, Ivan the Terrible was in like the 14th, 15th century.
No.
What was Russia doing then? I don't think
I
they
don't
were
know.
doing anything.
Tarkovsky was making bomb ass music. That's what he was doing.
That's why I picked it. Trying to pick these.
Tarkovsky, you can't use real cannons as instruments. They make noise, and yes, I can. And I'm going to use 21 of them.
Yep.
So, what are you guys feeling?
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of down for Russia. I mean, that's a,
18th
Matthew?
century Russia. Well, so we're doing.
I
We
mean,
can do
like 1800s Russia or
1800s Russia or
17th
18th century.
1800s. 1800s.
1800s.
So,
So we
19th century.
So that means we can talk about what the fuck's his name? The guy that was like tried to fight Napoleon, then not lost against Napoleon. Then
Oh yes, Emperor Alexander. Yeah.
yeah, Alexander. Thank you. Why was I thinking William? Why nobody in Russia is going to be named William?
Or Wilhelm.
I am Klavoskik. I am Alexander. I am William.
Yeah, no, that just don't
I'm
work.
just a roll off the tongue.
There's probably Russians named William, honestly.
I got a different name for it though.
All right, so go ahead and vote on 3. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Russia.
Russia.
Pearl Harbor. All right, so our next topic for the next episode will be 1800s Russia. Ooh,
Damn
a little
straight.
exciting. Now, we do still have those looming topics to talk about.
We'll talk about them. I swear.
You know,
Bro, you keep bringing up a new one. It's like, oh yeah, no, let's do that instead.
well, I meant like Rome. I meant like
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Samurai
Hey,
Japan.
hey, we
You know, these
already,
looming topics.
yeah, we already did. Like, we just got off of a three-parter.
Oh, I know.
Let's
That's
like put
why.
a few singles in
Well,
between
Yeah,
before
honestly.
we get to
these
like.
are these are all singles that I am putting up. That's why we're doing these now. So
Yeah, because honest to God, we're gonna have to talk about Rome a lot of times.
What do you mean?
Just
We can just talk about Rome in an episode. Hell, it fell in a day.
fuck, I forgot to talk about Rome. I forgot to talk about Rome this episode. Shit.
Oh,
Rome
thank-
was also along with the Greeks, the Italians. Actually, no, the Romans. It's the word where Australia came from was Latin, so the Romans thought of it.
Australis. I said that.
Yes. Okay, good. You talked about the Romans. I
now,
usually just talk
question:
about Romans every time.
is this the podcast where we mention Star Wars every time? I can't keep it straight anymore.
No, we haven't talked about Star Wars.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? Know what they like in Australia?
Do they like Star Wars?
I'm sure. I mean, they're basically little America.
They're America, but honest to God, like except for like the
All right,
me
guys, it's
not
like
allowed to own the
11:50.
boomstick,
Let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, with that all being said, remember if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us a positive rating on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to this show. Also, make sure to check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatoneandrew, where full recordings of this podcast are posted along with a plethora of other videos. We now also have a Patreon where you can support us directly. So head over to patreon.com/thatoneandrew. There you can support us. We are forever grateful for any support you give us, whether it is monetarily, through a like, or simply just listening. We're eternally grateful. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. Levi, you have school tomorrow. Good luck. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, to the audience, thank you. We will be seeing you in the next episode of Doomed to Repeat, a history podcast. Goodbye.
See ya.
bye, have a beautiful time.